And so we learn more from talking to other people to improve ourselves. This conversation, by the way, will go off in all sorts of different places, but that's the nature of ideas pop in my head.
All right.
One of the things I would say for those of you that do manage to get to MDRT, and I urge you to do that, because one of the questions ought to be asked, what's the secret of my success?
Right.
Is MDRT,
All
being
right.
a member of MDRT. But here's my take on what happens at MDRT. People go there from their companies, with their companies, wearing their lovely jackets representing the company they work for. And they walk around MDRT like shoals of colorful fish,
Right.
just hanging out with the people that they already know. Now, no disrespect to your colleagues, but if there's anything that you can learn from them, you should have already learned it.
Right.
We'll only learn something new from somebody we haven't met before. So I urge you, when you go to MDRT, step out from this group that you're with. Be brave. Go and talk to somebody else from a different country, perhaps, and ask them what's their secret to success. What are they doing? We will learn more from people that we don't know than the people we do know. So to come back to my story. So I did 5 years of training, if you like, of working for an insurance company before I decided that I could do a better job than the people I was looking after on my panel. So I stepped out of that role and became a financial advisor. This was back in the mid-90s. There's some lessons I can share with you from that, of my first steps into being a financial advisor and how I got my clients and how I built my reputation. And I know people that I've shared this story with who have not called me on the guarantee, that have used these ideas and developed things for themselves, including my friend Ian Green, the incoming president of MDRT.
All right.
He was one of the first few people to hear my story in the mid-90s, and he implemented this particular idea for himself. So one of the things I learned from my panel of IFAs, independent financial advisors, that I was working with was from a chap called Ivan Massel. Now, Ivan is a genius. He specialized. He specialized in a particular marketplace, the gay community of the UK.
All right.
Being gay himself, he identified with that market, and so he identified himself as the advisor to the Pink Pound and marketed himself by sponsoring pride marches and relevant events that he could brand himself. He became the go-to person that if anybody was gay in the UK, Ivan's name was the first person they thought of when they wanted financial advice. Obviously, with that particular community, they tend to work in high-paid occupations, at least in the UK they do. They tend to have more spare income than people with children may have. And he made a lot of money. And I observed from that niche marketing, identifying a particular sector, is a great way to build a business. So when I became a financial advisor, I set myself a goal. My goal was to be recognized as the most professional advisor to the Indian community in the UK within 5 years. Note, that's a very clear, specific goal. When we're setting goals, they must be clear and specific, not vague. And they must have a timeline. You know, if I just said my goal was to be recognized as the most professional advisor to the Indian community, full stop, I'd still be sitting here wondering how to achieve that.
Right.
By saying I wanted to do it within 5 years, now I really had to do something to achieve that goal. I'm going to go off on another, Zekko, if I may, onto another story, which is going to help to illustrate this point. So here's the story that might help to understand my thinking at the time and my thinking ever since. Have you ever tried to put together a 100-piece, maybe a 500-piece, maybe even a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle with all the small pieces? but without the picture on the box. No, I mean, that would be madness.
Yeah, no.
My question to you, my friends, how many of us will live our lives without the picture on the box? And we'll pick up pieces of puzzle during our life. And when we get to the end of our life and look at the picture that we created, we look at it and we say, if I could do it again, that's not the picture I would want to create. I would want something else. In fact, I ended up picking up pieces of somebody else's jigsaw puzzle that were not part of my goal or ambitions. So for me, this having a goal with a 5-year deadline was like putting together a jigsaw puzzle. I had to identify the pieces of the puzzle that will get me to that picture. And I had to ignore the pieces of the puzzle that came my way that were not part of my picture. Learning from Ivan, I approached an English language newspaper called Eastern Eye and approached the editor of that newspaper to see if they would run a personal finance column in the newspaper. It was a weekly newspaper, English language, went out to 40,000 people every week. That's 40,000 people buying it. There must be 100,000 people reading it. And after some negotiation, I was installed as the finance editor of Eastern Eye newspaper. So I would lift articles from other mainstream newspapers once a week, put them together, and this was in the days of cut and paste, where it was really cut and paste,
Right.
with scissors and glue,
Right.
and make my own article. And so every week I would write a short piece on financial planning, buying life insurance, saving money, whatever it might be, in this newspaper. After a while, people started to recognize me. I would go to a party, I would go to a wedding or something, and people would come up to me and say, are you Bhupinder, the person who writes in the paper? I'd say, yes, I am. And they'd say, I've got a question for you. Can I ask you? I'd say, now's not the right time. Let's exchange details and I'll give you a call in a couple of days' time and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
So what was happening was building a reputation. And writing articles, even if it's for a community newspaper, maybe even a society magazine of some sort, starts to create credibility. Even though I'd only just started my business, I was now being recognized as somebody who seemed to know what he was talking about, even though I had no real experience. So the first part of my puzzle of getting recognition had been identified. But now I wanted to be recognized as the most professional. How was I going to achieve that? So I looked for the opportunity and I entered a competition called the UK IFA of the Year, Independent Financial Advisor of the Year. It was a competition to recognize who was the #1 advisor out of 30,000 advisors in the UK. The competition was run by a newspaper, an industry newspaper, where they would issue 12 different case studies of aspects of financial planning, and advisors could enter into that competition by producing a 2,000-word report as if it was a real client. I entered in the category of retirement planning for the self-employed. Well, I was shortlisted in the top 3 of my category. There were 12 categories overall. Went for a judging experience in front of a panel of judges who then pretend to be the client, and you have to adapt your answers to suit the questions. And then went to the award ceremony, which was a bit like the Oscars, because they'd say, here's the 3 nominations for this category, and from the envelope, here's the winner of this category. Then out of the 12 winners, they announce who is the overall winner. Well, my friends, I'm very honored to say to you, I won my category for retirement planning for the self-employed, and I also won the overall prize of IFA of the Year.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Now, let me put some context into this. I was only in the business 14 months
Wow.
when I won that award.
All right.
So here's the point about having a goal. When you have a goal with a time scale on it, time seems to go faster because you're focused on achieving things. And so this piece of the jigsaw puzzle that was in place meant that now Eastern Eye put me on the front page of their newspaper to say that they had the #1 advisor in the UK as their finance editor. So I could now say that I had achieved the goal of being recognized as the most professional advisor in the UK to the Indian community within 14 months of my 5-year goal. So here's my observation. I speak at conferences all around the world, training financial advisors. And here's my observation of listening to thousands of financial advisors asking for referrals. When they ask for a referral, they simply say words along the lines of, I hope you're happy with what I've done for you. My business grows by talking to people. Who do you know that could benefit from a similar advice? Nothing wrong with that question, except it doesn't build a business. Let me explain what that means. Most people that I meet around the world aren't asking the right question, because by asking the who do you know question, if we're talking to people earning, and I'm going to use dollars as the term here, earning say $30,000 a year, who do they know are other people earning $30,000 a year? Well, how does our business grow if all we're doing is talking to people earning $30,000 a year? We need to be talking to people earning $50,000, $100,000 or more. There's a phrase that I learned many, many years back in MDRT, which I would urge you to put on your screens as a screensaver. And it goes like this. We will only ever earn just over the average earnings of all of our clients. Think about that just for a moment. We will only ever earn just over the average earnings of all of our clients.
Right.
What does that mean? If our clients typically earn 30,000, unless we're killing ourselves and working every minute of every hour of every day, we will also only earn between 30 to 50,000.
Right.
We can't earn 100,000 off people earning 30,000. Okay, so if we understand that, and I want to earn 100,000, I need to start talking to people earning 80 to 100,000. If I want to earn $250,000, I need to start talking to people that are earning $200,000 plus. If I want to earn $1 million, guess who I need to be talking to? So my question is, asking who do you know takes your business sideways, because the people earning 30,000 know many other people earning 30,000. And you go and see that person, you ask the same question, you stay at a certain level. Here's a better question. Here's what's taken me up over the years to clients that are earning well into 6 figures. John, I hope you're happy with what I've done for you. My business grows by talking to people. Can I ask you a question? Who is the most successful person you know? You note the order of those words. I've seen people try this and they say, who's more successful than you? That's the wrong words.
Right.
Who is the most successful person you know? Now, rightly or wrongly, all around the world, we measure success by money. And John is going to say to you, well, in his mind, this person earns more than me. He has a bigger house than me. He goes on more holidays than me. He drives a bigger car than me. Therefore, he is more successful. And that person might be earning, if John is earning 30,000, maybe 75 to 80,000. John won't know very many people earning that level, but he'll know one or two. So let's say he says that my friend is Tim. Here's the next key part of asking for referrals. Instead of saying, can I have Tim's phone number? John, would you be comfortable in facilitating an introduction to Tim? Note those words again. And this will come up later on when we talk about the power of words. All of my words are chosen very carefully. Would you be comfortable? Gives John the ability to say, I can't refer you to him. I don't like him. Just because I know him, I may not like him. That's okay. So it allows him to say he's not able to do so. Our next question will, of course, be, who's the next most successful person you know? So would you be comfortable is a nice way of moving to the next level, which is to facilitate an introduction, meaning I want you part of that introduction. Because Tim is more likely to talk to me if John tells Tim to talk to me. So I then asked John to facilitate the introduction by emailing and copying me in to Tim and introducing the two of us together.
Right.
Now, when I go and see Tim, and Tim earns $80,000 a year and we do some business together, if I say to him, who do you know? I'll end up talking to other people at 80,000. So my question is going to be to him, are you ready to practice this?
Right.
Zekko, you want to have a go?
Yeah.
Which is?
Who are the, do you know successful people that you can share your data with me?
Okay. No. I told you have to practice this.
I need to practice.
You need to practice. So the question, and Zekko, I'm going to pick you up. If you heard me say this back in June, that means you haven't used it since.
All right, okay.
My guarantee applies.
All right, yeah.
So the question is, who is the most successful person you know?
Right.
And then you zip. Don't say anything. Let them think about it. The words are very key. Rather than who are the most successful people, can you introduce me? We'll get to the introduced bit after. Just let's identify who it is. When we go and see Tim and we ask him who's the most successful person you know, he'll know one or two people earning double what he earns. We go and ask that person, and that person's earning $250,000. Who's the most successful? He knows one person earning $500,000. And then we work our way up to somebody earning $1 million one day.
All right.
What do we say to the guy earning $1 million? We do not say who is the most successful person you know, because it is probably him or her. Instead, it's okay to say, who do you know? Because guess what? Millionaires know other millionaires.
Yeah.
So if in building up your business you don't feel ready to talk to people earning 250, 500,000, it's okay, because you control that by just stopping at a certain level by saying, who do you know? When you're ready, you then say, who's the most successful person that you know? Yeah, I think one of the key things to success in this business is a sense of self-value, self-worth, self-confidence. And that's got to come from the understanding that people need us. Society needs us. The countries need us because of what we do. Because we create money out of thin air. We create money at the time that people need it. We are in one of the most valuable professions in the entire world. I can't think of any other profession other than the medical profession that has the power, the ability to influence people's lives as much as we do. That comes with responsibility. It means that we must constantly think of how can we help our clients? What can we do for them to improve their lives, to protect their families, to protect their businesses? And everything that we do must carry ethics and integrity to help people. When we help people, our business grows, we grow. We don't need to make sales to look after ourselves. We're making sales to help other people. And we enjoy doing that. We get satisfaction and we get rewarded for it. It's easy for people to buy this commodity called life assurance cheaply, conveniently, at 3 o'clock in the morning if they really want to. And yet people are still paying me for advice to get a premium quote. And then I'll earn a commission when they have said yes, which is what happened this morning. How can that be, where they could buy it for nothing at 3 o'clock in the morning, yet they're paying me for my time, my experience? And it comes back to value creation. And we've got to understand this, that in order to do business in the modern world, we must provide value. And here's the understanding around that. Value has nothing to do with money. Value has nothing to do with price. Value is to do with what do we bring to the relationship. And my definition of value is the following. What are we doing for our clients that they either cannot or will not do for themselves? I'll repeat that for you. What are we doing for our clients that they either cannot or will not do for themselves? That's the message we need to get across to our clients. That even if they go and buy something directly, it doesn't mean they've bought the right thing. It doesn't mean it's been set up properly. It doesn't mean that they've put a trust around it to protect it for generations to come. What's the value add that we can bring, which might be around the thinking of the products that they need? And it never is one solution. It's always a range of products. It's about talking about things like critical illness that they've never heard about. So the value creation is not about, can I compete on price? It is, can I do something that the internet cannot give you? And if we get that value proposition correct, if we get our whole process correct and differentiate ourselves to a niche market, people will bite our hands off to do business.
People can see, you are not the common financial advisor. You're different, right?
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's always been a key fact of my career since I became a financial advisor, was constantly how to differentiate myself from my peer group. Because when we become just part of what everyone else does, we become commoditized, which means that people have a perception of what a life insurance agent is. They have a perception of what a financial advisor is. They have no perception of what a financial architect is, even though what I do is what you all do. Right? And so where did I learn that from was the question. I learned it at MDRT. What I did, however, was apply thinking to it. Now, I remember Bruce Etherington, another phenomenal speaker at MDRT, many, many, many years ago, as a throwaway line in his speech, he said, sometimes we're like a financial architect, designing financial homes for people and then finding the right financial furniture. Right. And that was just a one line in a much bigger speech. I wrote it down, and I loved the whole analogy of what he had painted. On the airplane, on my flight back to the UK, I wrote my entire script around that. And from the moment I landed, I had become a financial architect. So what I'm saying is, if I can do that, if I can take one sentence from a 1 week meeting and then change my entire career around it, what are you doing with the ideas that you get from the conferences and courses that you attend? Are they just notes in a folder that they were very nice when you wrote them, but then you file them away and don't think about them?
Yes.
Because that's 99% of the world does that. The 1% that reach top of the table, or even less, don't take notes for the sake of saying, aren't I very good? I made lots of notes. I've made these notes. I made them for a reason. It's because it resonated with me at the time. Otherwise, I could have just written the script for whoever I was listening to. So if I wrote something down, it's because at the time I wrote it, it was important to me.
Right. If
it was important to me then, what do I do? Sure, I think to take a step back from that, here's a question that obviously drives what you're saying, is, have you ever been asked the question, what do you do?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Do you think you'll be asked that question ever again? What do you do?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you think you may be asked that question, what do you do, almost every day of the rest of your working life?
Right.
Have you rehearsed your answer?
No.
No. And this is what I find extremely bizarre. That, again, from my observation of talking with hundreds of thousands of advisors around the world doing this exercise, here is a question we know will come up almost every day of the rest of our working life, yet we make up an answer, a different answer, every single time we meet somebody. And it never sounds confident. It never sounds that we believe in ourselves, because we're trying to answer the question but not really say too much about being a life insurance agent because we're worried about the effect it might have. Now, there's nothing wrong with saying I'm a life insurance agent, but it better come with some enthusiasm and belief that you have the best job in the world. So everybody should have some form of elevator script, some kind of pitch where you, when you're asked a question, what do? You instantly have something creative. And the key point about the answer, somewhere within that answer, it must drive the other person to think, that's interesting, tell me more. If it doesn't do that, it was a waste of a response.
Right.
Okay. And so when somebody asks me what do I do, the first thing I do is I say, thank you for asking. And I've already taken them off guard because very, very few people will respond with, thank you for asking.
Right.
How do you feel when I say thank you for asking? You can't feel bad. So I'm already winning because I've changed what your expectation was. You see, when most people, you ask them, what do? They say, I regret what I do. I wish I did something else. So the fact that you're already saying thank you for asking, and then going into the next bit that really differentiates us by saying, I love what I do. I have the best job in the world. How many times have you ever said that to somebody? Because when they're expecting you to say, I hate what I do, I want to do, I wish I did something else. But you say, I love what I do. I get excited by what I do, and I have the best job in the world. I'm drawn into you because I've not heard anybody say this, and I really now want to know what it is that you do. And you could at that point say, I'm a life insurance agent, but I do things very differently, or I protect families. I provide money at the time that people need it. What a great line. I provide money at the time that people need it. Okay. Because that will lead people to say, what does that mean? Yeah. I often say to people, my job is to see my new clients before my competitors do. And people laugh and say, of course it is, that's for all of us. And I say, well, yeah, but my competitors are death, disability, and old age. So I need to see people before one of my other competitors does.
That's a very good one. I never heard that one before.
I told you I'm full of these one-liners.
I know.
But I also then say, I'm a financial architect as the differentiating introduction. And that's always 100% guaranteed to get the response of, what does that mean? The minute somebody says to me, what does that mean? I am fully in control of that conversation.
Right.
And I can now take that conversation wherever